All right, a lot of storylines in this game. You have Tom Brady, you have Edelman back, but let's start with this.
You're not the only one going sleeveless today, Jenna.
All right.
Well, Julian Edelman.
Yes,
He's
Julian Edelman
ready.
decided it was not as drafty as he thought it was in that post-game press conference.
After a 4-game PED suspension, he's like, listen, it's real.
This is all natural, America.
Let me show you.
Sorry about that.
By wearing no sleeves, which was my thought process
exactly
this
right.
morning.
Jenna also all natural.
I showed you
True
guys.
story.
Let's start with the Patriots offense. What do you make of what you saw last night from their offense?
Nick and I talked about it early this morning. It's about what we expected coming from the game. We knew the Colts were outmanned, out-personneled. I mean, from a healthy standpoint, this is some of the worst conditions you can be at for a Thursday night game. The late overtime game, we know about them losing to the Texans, then having to travel to New England. Like, they didn't even have enough guys to suit up for the whole 47-man roster. Like, they had guys actively who could have played, but no. Like, they weren't healthy enough to be able to play. So we knew coming into the game they would pick them apart. We knew that the Colts couldn't blitz to create enough pressure on Tom Brady because they didn't want to play man-to-man. We thought that he would immediately start going back to Edelman, which he did. We thought the running backs would play a role, throwing and catching James White and Sony Michel, and they did. I mean, Tom Brady, for me, Nick asked me what I thought about the game. I said, I think Tom's just going to play forever. Like,
what you actually said is, why would he ever stop? Why would you quit if you're Brady and these are the circumstances?
The game is too easy. I mean, they can't rush you, and even if they do rush you, they can't land on you. They can't hit you. They can't hit you to your head. You know, so the game is so much easier than it's ever been. And to me, there was not a point in the game where I think Tom Brady was stressful one little bit. Like, so when you can play the game like that, I mean, that's what New England is going to be able to do. Now they got Edelman back. You can see that Josh Gordon, Brady's starting to be a little more comfortable with him. Well, how do you know that? Not only the number of plays that he played, but the ball when Brady was scrambling and he throws that ball up and there's two defenders there, Brady does not do that unless he trusts you. So I believe that will pay dividends as long as Josh can do everything the Patriot way, game after game. Edelman gave them that emotional lift that I had told them about. So, yeah, this is what I expect from the Pats, especially in October. They're going to start turning the corner. They're going to play better football. But for us to think that this is a team that would be challenging the AFC, no, it's not. The Colts are a long ways away.
The Colts have a lot of issues when they're fully healthy, and it's why any evaluation of Andrew Luck is probably going to have to wait until next year, because he's not only coming back from injury, but he also, even with a fully healthy roster, doesn't have enough talent around him. One of those, the final pick he threw yesterday was off a receiver's hands on a perfectly thrown ball. But speaking of picks off receivers' hands, I mean, I didn't see Brady make a mistake yesterday. And I think this speaks to the point you were making, which is why would he stop playing? He was never under duress. He seemed totally comfortable. I thought Troy Aikman told a great story. And it's funny listening to Troy call these games because he saw Brady was grazed on the head and they called a personal foul. And you almost can hear it in Troy's voice, like, do you remember what I went through? And
he's like, look at my face.
I mean, look at what and so he told a story about watching a film from a game that was kind of forgotten from a few years ago, a Tom Brady-Pats game, where Brady's numbers weren't that good. And he was constantly under duress. And the story he told was, but Brady clearly had decided, I'm not getting sacked. The one thing that's not going to happen in this game is we are in a bad down and distance because I get sacked. And he said he thought it was one of the best quarterbacking performances he had ever seen, even though the numbers wouldn't say that, because of the control he had over the game. And last night you saw that. He wasn't constantly under duress, but when he was, because he knew the only way the Colts would get back in the game is a strip sack, an injury, some super negative play. If they had pressure, I'm going to get rid of it. And if not, I'm just going to let now a fully functional receiving core out-athlete the Colts defenders. And by the way, side note, Sony Michel might be a real weapon. This is his second straight big game from Sony Michel, the Pats' first running back they've taken in the first round since Lawrence Maroney about a decade ago, paid dividends the last 2 weeks.
500th home run for Tom Brady. Put that in perspective for us.
Yeah, home runs, touchdowns, they're all good.
Home runs?
They're all good.
That's what I meant. First put the home runs, then talk about the touchdowns.
I had 130 of them in my day. Awesome. 100 of them from the left side, 30 from the right.
Switch it.
I mean, Tom Brady, it's a tremendous accomplishment. Like we start talking about Drew Brees and Drew Brees being in the class of Dan Marino, Peyton Manning, and all these great quarterbacks. This is not something we ever thought Tom Brady would. We didn't think that Tom, because his first 3 Super Bowls, people were just giving, oh, New England, they're responsible. Belichick's more responsible. But Tom Brady, the last 8 to 10 years, I mean, he is one of the best throwers of the football. He's not a game manager. I mean, he has taken up chunks of yardage year after year and touchdown after touchdown. I never thought he'd be a 500 touchdown quarterback.
No.
So looking at him, how he's adapted his game and how New England has changed, that he would be able to finally be in this category, it speaks to his expertise, his accuracy. He takes advantage of you in the red zone. That's the reason why he is the GOAT. It's not because all the Super Bowls, it's everything. It's the completions, it's the yardage, it's the touchdowns. The totality of it speaks for itself.
And the way he has built as he's aged. I looked this up this morning, and it's a very interesting exact median point. From his rookie season through the end of the 2009 season, he played 129 games in that decade. In those 129 games, he threw 225 touchdown passes. From the start of 2010 until right now, he has played 129 games, the exact same amount of games. He's thrown 275 touchdowns. So to have that accelerated pace when you're including age 38, 39, 40, and now 41-year-old season, that's the unprecedented part of it. Like, we're going to talk about Drew Brees Monday because he's going to get to 500 most likely.
Yes.
And he deserves an enormous amount of accolades because he was a guy who had to change teams, dealt with an injury. But once he got with the Saints, he's been operating at this high level basically consistently. Brady has been building to this over the final quarter of his career,
right,
which is unprecedented.
And we used to think when we compared him to Peyton Manning, we always said that Peyton Manning would have all the stats and Brady would have all the championships.
That's a great point.
No, Brady's got both.
Right.
And I think that he has made it a point in his overall longevity that, yes, those numbers are very, very important because no one will ever be able to match his excellence as far as touchdowns, yards, completions, and the championships.
Tom Brady figured out something very early as he was aging in his career. If I work on 2 things that maybe other people don't as much, I could be successful: intellect on the football field and self-preservation. He has done that with his body, and he has figured out an intellectual way to approach the game, and it has equaled longevity for him.